What is up, YouTube? Johnny B here again today, and we are with the Fiesta ST once again. It's been a whole week. Last week I actually had to do a little bit of work on my FRS, just wanted to clean it up a little bit. But this week we are gonna go ahead and start doing more mods to the Fiesta ST. Mods that you don't really see anybody do. Mods that are gonna be like high performance, so it's gonna make the car much faster. It's gonna make everything look cooler. It's gonna make everything perform cooler. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we're gonna be doing today is changing this little stock factory intercooler, which only takes up this space and this little part of the grill, for this intercooler. This is a Dead Hook Motorsports big intercooler. This thing is massive, all aluminum, and it's gonna take up even about like half of the grill once we go ahead and install it. Now these actually aren't in production anymore. You can't just go out and buy these. It's out of stock, out of discontinued, whatever you want to call it. The company actually went down under and they don't make these anymore. So it was quite a bit difficult to find this, but we were able to get our hands on one, luckily here in Arizona. So I'm excited to go ahead and install this because we're going to be running big power, so we need to make sure we cool all that air. So let's take off the bumper now. So this is how the Fiesta looks without the bumper. We got some ducting here. We got this crash bar, which goes right behind the actual grill piece. That's why there's a part of the grill that's like blocked off. You don't want to be looking at this. And then here you can see the stock intercooler, which is fairly tiny. It's only about like 4 inches tall and just goes from side to side. So this intercooler, compared to the one that we're going to be installing, which covers all the way up here, it basically covers up this area where the crash bar is at. So we're gonna have to go ahead and remove this because it's just gonna be in the way. So let's go ahead and do that. All right guys, so there it is. We removed basically the whole front end. The crash bar is now off. As you can see, it's a very structural component because it holds up the whole radiator core support condenser, and it even has a spot where the headlights kind of sit on. And it's an overall big structure that holds up everything together. So you guys are probably wondering, so then what are you gonna do, Johnny? Why are you removing it? Well, because we need to fit the intercooler, so we just need to completely get rid of it. But I have a solution. So we are going to be replacing it with this right here. This is the Dead Hook Motorsports front crash bar, which is also out of stock and they don't sell anywhere. I think there is another company that's replicating these, but this is the original Dead Hook Motorsports that comes along when you buy the actual intercooler, because that intercooler is way too massive to fit with the stock crash bar. So you need to get one of these with it. So it's kind of like a kit combination, because you can't run the intercooler without running one of these because it won't fit. But this still has all the mounting points to go ahead and hold up the core support, to bolt onto there, to hold up the headlights. It just has every little mounting point that you need already on here. This is what we're going to be installing instead of that. And I was noticing that at the moment we have all this like loosened up and it's so easy to access everything. So I was thinking that we might even just do the radiator at this point, since we're already here. We have the radiator and this is all loose. We might need to remove all this to get to the radiator, so there's no point in putting the intercooler and putting everything back together when we need to remove it anyways, right? So let's go ahead and install some more stuff. Now that we have the crash bar off, we have the intercooler off, everything else was much more accessible, so why not just go ahead and replace other things that we also have? So I went ahead and removed the actual core support, which uncovered the radiator and the condenser. So we have an upgraded radiator that we're going to be putting in, because since we're going to be making more power, we wanted the cooling system to be a lot more efficient. So we went with a Montoon all aluminum radiator and their hoses that they also provide, which is funny because Montoon also has CSF on the side, so it's a CSF radiator with their branding, and the hoses are Samco with the rebranding of the Montoon. So it's kind of like a partnership type thing that they got going on, but it's still really high quality parts because we know CSF and Samco are some of the best companies. Let's go ahead and show you guys what the radiator looks like, because it looks amazing. Here is the radiator. As you can see, it has a big Montoon stamp straight into the aluminum right there, and then it's got like the M logo over here. And then on the right side of the radiator, it's got the CSF also, you know, the logo imprinted into the aluminum, which looks really, really high quality. That just makes the aluminum radiator look that much cooler. And then if you look a little bit over here on the hoses, they have the M logo Montoon. It says by Samco Sport. So they're essentially Samco hoses, just rebranded so that they say Montoon. And it's a really high quality kit, so we're gonna go ahead and install this now. All right, so I was going to try to bolt on the core support onto the bash bar, but there's no thread there because on the factory one, there's a nut that's welded in through the back. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna insert a rib nut, which is that right there. And essentially this has thread on the inside. So I need to drill that out to where this fits. I'll crimp it on there, and then we will have thread to actually have something to bolt on there properly. So let's go ahead and drill that out. All right guys, so we got the radiator support installed. We were also able to put the bash bar on, and it's looking really good. It has all the factory mounting points. And let's just go ahead and test it, make sure it's strong enough. You know how I always like to give it a little test? It's good. The worst part about this beautiful radiator is that you can't see it, but at least from underneath, you know, you can kind of get a glimpse on it every time you're working on your car or changing out the oil. It looks so good how it's so shiny, and then you can see the red silicone hose over there too. So I don't know, it still looks good, but it's one of those things that is going to be hitting and no one else is going to see except you. All right guys, so now that we have the bash bar on, the core support is all mounted on properly, let's go ahead and try to put on the new intercooler. If you guys remember, the old intercooler just has like a little spot in this area and that's all it covers up. So now let's go ahead and put the new one to see how much space it really takes up. because it's pretty massive. So I just got to try to get it in here. It's even difficult to put it in here with this bash bar. And then I'll try to line it up. And I'm not gonna lie, this intercooler is kind of heavy because it is a really big piece, but I think that the bash bar kind of makes up for that because the bash bar is way lighter than the original crash bar that goes there. I'll just put these 2 bottom bolts and that should be good. All right, guys, the intercooler is installed, the bash bar is installed. It just looks so crazy how we went from something that was so tiny and big old crash bar to this, where it just looks completely different. It looks so good. Just when you see a boosted car and you see like this huge intercooler in front, like, you know that thing's fast. It's not like a little stocky intercooler in there. So this definitely adds a lot of appeal, like, to the way it looks aesthetically, but also it you know, it increases performance. That's mainly what it's for. It's made so that the airflow gets cooled down more efficiently, especially if you're gonna be running a bigger turbo. So that's why we wanted to make sure that we prep this, have this ready. It was an easy mod. It was just pull off the bumper, pull off the old one, put this one on. Obviously, another thing that we did do while we were at it was the radiator. We already had it here, so might as well just install it all together, just so it would have been, you know, it makes it easier when you do a bunch of the things that are in a relative area. That way you only remove something once and you don't have to worry about it ever again. So in regards to the bumper, we're not gonna put the bumper back on, mainly because we still have some more mods that are coming in, and I wanna make sure that I install everything before I go ahead and put the car back together. That way it just makes it easier. You know, it's less work if you don't have to be putting it back together and taking it apart again every time you do a mod. When I did that with my FRS was because I needed to drive it. It was my daily driver at the time. So when I did a mod, I needed to put it back together, drive it around, and then whenever the part came in, it's fine. But right now, this isn't the daily driver. Obviously, he has the base model Fiesta as a daily driver. This one, the goal is to install the mods as fast as we can and just basically get it ready to where it's drivable, and we're not gonna have to worry about, you know, taking apart an engine piece, the turbo or things like that, and having to go get it retuned so you can't daily it. So mainly, we just wanna swap out everything that needs to be swapped out, go get it tuned, and then everything else, like any body panels or any mods, exterior mods that we want to do, you could still daily drive a car while changing exterior mods, but you can't daily drive a car when you're switching out like an intercooler, switching out a turbo, switching out a radiator. It makes it a little bit more difficult. So that's the plan. One of the first mods, you know, bigger intercooler and that. And we have a lot more things coming your way, so make sure you guys subscribe, stay tuned, because there's so much more mods gonna go into this thing, and we're gonna make this thing into a hopefully 400 horsepower beast, and be faster than any other Fiesta out there, and kind of be like a sleeper, because you don't expect a little Fiesta to go out there and beat a muscle car or beat like a supercar or something like that. Like, this thing's light, so when it's punching, you know, that much power, it's gonna be destroying anything on the streets. You know, obviously there's cars that are much faster out there, but it's gonna be like 90% in the faster range of anything that's out there. And it's just gonna be fun to see when someone's gonna try to be pulling up on you to try to pass you, go ahead of you, because they see this little car and they're like, oh, this thing's slow. Nope, you just fly right by them. This thing's gonna be a beast. It's gonna be so exciting. It was already fun to drive in stock form. I can't imagine what it's gonna be like with a bigger turbo. So make sure you guys stay tuned. As always, you guys have a great day.